Going forward, we need to look at that very critically. Number 2, we must have the mindset to embrace whatsoever changes that need to be made in the organizational structure and management of the church. There are changes that we need to make. They may not be too elaborate, but there are still some changes we need to make to give the church the type of leadership that will help her to move forward better than we are moving now. Number 3, ordaining pastors, elders, deacons, and deaconesses, when we have not formally trained them and be convinced that they have the capacity to deliver on set targets, should no longer continue if we must make progress. Ordination into one office or the other is not by any means a class matter, but should absolutely be for service in the house of God. The number of people that we ordain, after ordaining them, we now say they don't have capacity to deliver. We are supposed to discover that before we ordain them or not. Not be so? So we need to take a more critical look at how people are ordained as pastors or elders. We cannot finish ordaining people and then we now say we want to de-ordain them because we are now finding out that they can't perform. Number 4, if pastors are seen as the overseers and under shepherds, they should be properly trained, empowered, and supported by all to succeed. Our pastors are not receiving enough training. And going forward, beyond where we are now, training is going to be very, very crucial if we want to move forward and become a better organization. Number 5, if the GS of the ministry is the spiritual father of the ministry, and we believe that God speaks to him, and that he also has the primary interest of the ministry at heart, the GS need to be empowered by the leading of the Holy Spirit to recruit quality men with pastoral grace into the pastoral team of the ministry. These men recruited by the GS should subsequently be trained as pastors before formal ordination to help run our churches. As long as we continue opposing this, we are not yet ready to move forward. What do I mean by that? You know, we talk about churches where things are moving and this one is happening. Do you know that in some churches, the GS will just stand up and call you, say, come up. He has prayed, he has observed you. He just calls you, come up, and you kneel down here. And from that day, you become a pastor in the ministry. But we don't do that here. We have to go through all kinds of stories and processes. This one will oppose it, the other one will argue over it, and then, no. That's what I'm talking about, spiritual authority. So if we don't have confidence in the ability of the general superintendent to take such decisions, he does not qualify to be the general superintendent. So let's take note of that. Now, let's go to administrative issues. Number 1, the ministry must put in place a template. I hope the English not there too much. It's all right, eh? All right. Must put in place a template for the development of competent staff through training and retraining for better performance. We are expecting so much from our staff, be the pastoral staff, be the administrative staff, be the secretarial staff, financial staff. We are not training them. We don't even make enough budget for training. This training must be made compulsory, and we should be ready to pay for it, not to ask the people to pay to be trained. The pastoral team, the church secretaries, somebody is put as church secretary in a parish. Nobody trains that person. And we expect so much from them and they cannot deliver. Evangelism and follow-up. and fellowship and departmental leaders. A lot of times, when we say we are having workers training, that we have 2 hours or 3 hours in a year, is that training? No. When you go to churches and see workers being trained, it's a school. And they go through it for months. And if you are not able to cope with that training, you are dropped because you are not able to serve in that office. And Glorious Covenant Ministry, after 25 years, must begin to look at this issue seriously. Number 2, it is this, okay, now this training is what will fine-tune the skills as well as help our people to acquire new skills. You still go to some parishes, everything is still being done in a very archaic and outdated manner. No, Glorious Covenant Ministry, after 25 years, is supposed to be digitalized. Not so. Whether you are at Abueto or you are at Otubo, training can make you function like somebody in Port-Harcourt. It all has to do with what we put in place. Number 2, there is a need for an independent, I underline independent, SWOT analysis for the ministry after 25 years. We need somebody from outside who will come and look at what we have been doing. They will look at everything. They will look at your structure. They will look at your finances. They look at, how the place. There are men who have been trained. They have what it takes. If they come and stay in this church for 1 week, they will be able to analyze what is going on in the church. And we need that because we want to move forward. Not be so. SWOT analysis have to do with what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, whether you like it or not. Every organization has strength and they have their areas of weakness. What are our opportunities and what are our threats? Someone who has the authority to make such analysis need to come and tell us. In that case, he will not be looking at Pastor Toby's face to tell him, look, what you are doing in City Parish cannot work. He will not be looking at the chairman of council. He is coming there to look at the ministry, look at what we have put in place, and he will tell us the truth to our faces. Some of those truths, we may not like them. But of course, if you want to move forward, there are some bitter truths that you must swallow. So we need that at this point in the ministry. Number 3, still looking at administrative issues. Manpower development for the critical leadership of the segment. For the critical leadership segment of the church. Manpower development. COSOM should package specific courses. Thank God for the basic ministerial training, but there are specific courses that COSOM need to begin to put in place for elders. You just say this one is for what? Elders. This one is for deacons. A course that may be running for 1 month, they have to attend it to if you must function and know where we are going. A separate course for pastors, because what the pastor does in the church and what the deacon does is not the same. If we are doing COSOM ministerial basic training and all of us are there, that is general teaching and general knowledge. But pastors need to be trained specially. Elders need to be trained specially. Deacons and deaconesses need to have their own training. Departmental leaders need to have special training. Some people have become one director or the other. Nobody has sat them down to tell them that this is what it takes to be a director and succeed as one. So we must do that if we must move forward. Now, number 4, this is very critical, and I want us to listen. We need to review the 2-tier leadership structure at the parish level. What do I mean by two-tier leadership structure? This arrangement, we have church committee and we have elders council. I think it's time we review it. This arrangement has negatively affected the availability of some matured hands that should be available to run the fellowships and service departments of the church, thereby working with the pastors to grow the parish. You know, when you're in elders council, you're not available to the parish. In some parishes, the elders are not available to do the day-to-day running of the church. That is important to grow the church. Because you're an elder, you cannot be a fellowship president. Because you're an elder, you cannot be a director of a department. Meanwhile, when you look into that parish, there are no equally capable hands to become directors. But because somebody is an elder, he cannot be there. He says, I'm functioning in the elders' council. I think that we need to revisit that. And it will involve a constitutional review. And we need to look at it very critically. In a number of parishes, this arrangement, which removes elder from being in the church committee, means that they are not available for the day-to-day running of the church, which incidentally lies with the church committee. Remember that it is the church committee that actually runs the church. And elders are not available there. And then they will be, looking here and there for who is going to become this and who is going to become that, because the elders have been removed from being available to serve there. I think that that is not helping our churches. And I think that going forward, we should revisit this arrangement. The ministry, listen please, no clapping now. The ministry is as strong as our parishes. Are you hearing me? If our parishes are weak, the ministry is weak. The church is not about some armchair executives, but it's a spiritual organization with a leader and other support leaders. An effective church committee, underline effective church committee, with a leader as pastor and as many elders as possible who have been so appointed to lead the service departments of fellowships will give us a better result. Let the parishes run with the church committees. Any ordained officer can function there and render service in God's house. Number 5, still talking about administrative issues. A more friendly and effective, broad-based national and district offices working in harmony and not in cross purposes has become imperative if we must make progress as one people. A situation where the national does not see the district as partners, but rather as competitors, will not lead the ministry to desired goals. That is what I'm beginning to see in this ministry. That some people in the national office don't see anything good in the district office. They don't see anything good in any parish. There can be no national without the parishes. I hope you know that. And if the parishes have failed, national has failed. National must be interested in encouraging the parishes, encouraging the officers in the parish, encouraging the officers at the district level to make sure that this ministry moves forward. Where the parishes succeed, it is national that has succeeded. If the district succeeds, it is national that has succeeded. And if they fail, it is national. And everybody must be aware of that. Parishes must do well on all fronts for the ministry to do well. Now, let's look at financial matters. The area of finance is one area that for a long time we have had to struggle with. Churches are weak economically and financially when funds are not coming into the church in sufficient quantity. Are you hearing me? If money coming into this church is not enough, then we are going to be weak economically. When the church or ministry cannot finance its programs, when the church members are generally poor, and when there are no proper accounting records, and nobody knows what is happening, and then when the church funds are embezzled, this is a problem. We are still having issues, and I think going forward, we really need to ask God to help us to look at what to be done concerning, you may not have 100%, but close to 90-95, that we can really be sure that the way our finances are going, that it is actually the way. A lot of things are happening that you and I may not know. Going forward, we need to look at this area very critically to see how to grow the finances of the church. We may need to do the following. 1, make a robust review of the financial policy of the ministry. Number 2, engage up to date